2 decades ago, my wife and I were married. She had 2 children. Elgo was 8 and Hanana was 12. After that, we had 2 of our own. Juan, the father of Hanana and Elgo, is not a good man, in my opinion. He worked under the table a lot to reduce the amount he should have paid in child support and rarely paid it. He spent a Christmas night with us, so he witnessed the early gift opening. He mistook the label on a gift I received from Elgo, proving that it was his. In order to avoid getting into a conflict with the youngsters there, I merely swallowed the terrible behavior. But his children adore him. To them, he is perfect. Even though I paid for the wedding, he escorted Hanana down the aisle when she was married. The invitation didn't even acknowledge me. Again, the wedding wasn't about me, so I didn't start any drama. Juana made it very clear to me that I would not be her child's grandfather when she had her first child. I was only the spouse of her mother. We grew close after their mother passed away, and I consider Elgo to be a friend. He continued to visit me, and we frequently had dinner together. He personally delivered my invitation to make sure I understood he wanted me there, and he brought his fiancée to meet me. W hasn't been in touch with me since her mother passed away. I last saw her and her children during the funeral. I assumed I would see Elgo again at her wedding. Nevertheless, her family lost their home as a result of the economy's severe effects. They require lodging. About moving in with me, she gave me a call. She wants the basement suite in my house to go to her family. Therefore, I should relocate my kids into their old bedroom. I refused to move my kids out of their neighborhood to make room for her. I proposed to give her 2 of my upstairs rooms. That was not what she wanted, she explained. The suite in the basement would do. I told them it wouldn't happen and stopped there. Because he lives alone in a flat, her father is unable or unwilling to assist her. Elgo resides in a different city. Juana claimed that since the basement was part of her home as well, if her mother were still living, she would insist that I give it to her. I told her that the house was all mine and that I had owned it before I married her mother. I made sure he was aware of the entire situation. He acknowledged that I had given her 2 rooms for free, calling her foolish for turning me down. I'm sorry about the whole thing, but I'm not letting my kids leave their place. Now that they are teenagers, I am teaching them how to take care of themselves. They are also coping with their mother's passing. Even though I'm not very thrilled about welcoming someone who despises me into our lives, I still want to be of assistance to her. Even though I feel foolish, I'm not going to change my views. Not the fool, not her stepfather, not even the father of her half-siblings. You were always her mother's spouse. Furthermore, it sounds as though she hasn't even been in contact with them yet. She is now delighted to ruin all of your lives. She has made it clear that she is not your child. Give her nothing. Don't do anything. She is a conceited fool. You care about your children, and it would be incredibly foolish of you to uproot their life in order to move her and hers in. I wouldn't have even proposed the 2 rooms if you weren't that. She made her own decisions. It's her life. She's an adult. I am aware that life shouldn't be about getting what you want, but consider this. Would she treat you the same way if the roles were reversed? I believe we are both aware of the response to that query. She won't pay you back, but if you feel compelled and truly want to help her, consider giving her a small present of money that you can easily afford to give away. I would only be willing to go so far as that. Since he covered the cost of her wedding and she had a bio dad accompany her down the aisle, I don't think she really deserves a cash present. He essentially played the role of ATM. She only cares about what she can get out of him, not about him. She made it very clear to Opie that he would only ever be her mother's spouse. I apologize, but just because she wants something more now doesn't mean she can break her own rules. She desired the basement in order to avoid having to speak with the family. She is interested in free housing, but not the family who resides there. I've dealt with the Mooch family before. Don't let her stay with you. I'm a woman of 29 years old. The daughter I have is tween. I had her at a very young age with my ex, who is also her father. After having her, we separated after a year, and we have been co-parenting ever since.
The father of my daughter is a stricter parent than I am. He forbids my daughter from wearing specific items of clothing, such as bodysuits, crop tops, and tank tops. In addition, he frequently yells at her for wearing mascara, including these false eyelashes, and
doesn't want her to wear it. The problem is that I've allowed her to use them since she's a good child. She is respectful, earns fantastic grades, and I think she has that kind of expressiveness. Additionally, he has a rule with her that states she must turn her phone to Do Not Disturb by 10 p.m. in the evening. Why? She doesn't do anything wrong, which is strange because I'm not sure how that will work. But whatever. In addition, my daughter has been reporting to me that her stepmother, his new wife, can be harsh and impolite at times. My ex-husband and his wife called me last week, expressing their anger and accusing me of being a negligent and uncaring parent. When I urged them to elaborate, they claimed to have discovered my daughter's secret boyfriend and blamed me for allowing her to go out with such unsuitable clothing and cosmetics. Now keep in mind that they have previously held me accountable for my daughter's behavior and other things. Since this wasn't the first time, and it was honestly incredibly aggravating, I informed them that their strictness was the reason she was keeping things from them, and that my parenting shouldn't worry them. In fact, I doubt that this is the reason she is misbehaving at all. They hung up, and from what my daughter has told me, they have been insulting me and calling me a moron. In addition, when I asked her about the boyfriend problem, she stated that he was only a guy friend and not even her boyfriend. Am I a fool? Call me a dinosaur, but I don't see the necessity for bodysuits or fake eyelashes on a tween. Additionally, I believe that allowing a child that age unrestricted use of a phone beyond 10 p.m. is a poor decision. By then, she ought to be asleep anyhow. You are the stupid, even though this may not be a widely held belief. Their worries are legitimate. Children's fake eyelashes sound awful. You understand that if she wears them too frequently, the glue will peel at her natural lashes, causing damage. A heavily makeup-ed face. Is she 32 or a child? A tween's face doesn't need to be heavily makeup. She already believes that kind of stuff is necessary. Come on, lady, please. It's clear that you want to be her friend rather than her parent. I agree that it stinks to say no to your child, but it's really vital. It's not too late to mature, adapt, and become a parent. Oh my, please improve. These days, kids can be classified into two modes: straight-up euphoria and cocomelon. It appears like your daughter would benefit more from consistent parenting in both homes if she worked with a mediator to figure out optimal practices. Since none of you appears to be interested in putting your child's experience at the center and making it calm and predictable, everyone in this situation is the idiot. A few weeks ago, my teenage niece Annabelle moved in with her grandparents. After years of Annabelle's home misery, this was long overdue. She has spoken to her mother numerous times and has previously asked my mother, my brother, and I to speak with her mother on her behalf. Up until Annabelle was finished, nothing changed. Annabelle was 4 years old when it all began. After meeting her husband, my 47-year-old sister Natasha moved in with him and his 5-year-old daughter Jasmine. Jasmine was quite critical of Annabelle from the beginning, even though I know my sister made a big deal out of them being sisters and all that. Annabelle loved Jasmine right away. She used to yell and curse at Annabelle. From what we could see, it was just a regular youngster playing out things that weren't rectified. The relationship continued to be quite toxic over time, even after Annabelle ceased attempting to be Jasmine's sister or even friend. Jasmine was much closer to her father than her mother, much like Annabelle's father. Even though Annabelle had never met her dad, her mother was at least somewhat of a deadbeat. Jasmine had no trouble playing with other kids, even those in our family, whenever we would encounter them, but she would either tell Annabelle she couldn't participate or accuse Annabelle of forcing her to quit playing with other kids. My brother's children would visit and apprise us of the situation, but neither Natasha nor her spouse would take any action or say anything. Jasmine would say she disliked Annabelle and wanted her to go away, and my mum would come over a few times and say it wasn't polite to exclude kids. All of this permeated the school, where Annabelle was harassed by Jasmine and a few of her friends. Nevertheless, nothing was accomplished. Natasha brushed off everyone who brought it up. She would even question Annabelle about why she couldn't accept that some sisters wouldn't always be like you, or if she truly wanted her to be miserable and single once more. When Annabelle told her that Jasmine had never liked her, she would have ignored it. We tried all in our power to help Annabelle, even going so far as to see if we could assist her and Jasmine. When Annabelle told us that her grandparents were battling over custody, I wasn't surprised. It surprised me when they prevailed because, as Natasha's mother, I kind of thought she would win. However, after taking everything into account, the judge determined that Annabelle was old enough to make a decision. Natasha was incensed over the choice and hasn't stopped sobbing or screaming. Now that we don't have to pass through her to see Annabelle, nobody has consoled her and we've retreated. She may have wanted to chat to me when she came over to my house the other night for this reason. She asked me why we weren't there for her when I refused to let her in. I informed her that this was her fault and that I didn't feel sorry for her at all. Natasha hurried out of my house after calling me a witch. She told me via text yesterday that I ought to continue to be there for her. Am I the foolish one? She would even inquire if Annabelle desired for her to be unsatisfied and unmarried once more. The main point is that your sister was too self-centered to even risk upsetting people for fear that it would not be to her advantage. Therefore, she did nothing for years. It is not you who is the fool. Sis had it coming, but it's not shocking that she isn't listening even now. While Jasmine wasn't required to play with Annabelle, she ought to have been required to refrain from bullying her, and your sister seemed more focused on her marriage to her husband than on keeping her child safe. Now that the youngster is safe, at least. She is a horrible mother who destroys her family in order to satisfy herself. See how that worked out then. She's not worthy of happiness. Knowing that Annabelle is safe from her, I wonder who Jasmine will vent her fury on. I'm hoping Jasmine is able to start counseling shortly. Opie, your sister's preference for a man in her bed over defending her daughter was greater. Thank heaven for the grandparents. Get over your sister. She's not worth it. I recently returned home from a family vacation in Mexico. On the plane, my daughter was occupied with viewing the Troll movie and going about her business. The woman seated front of her made the decision to cover her back of the chair with her hair. For my child, this obstructed the screen. She refused to move her hair when my daughter begged her to. After we used the flight attendant's button, the woman's hair was moved for around 15 minutes. She repeated it after that. When my daughter went to the toilet, I made the decision to take action. I sat down next to her. I gave her my seat back when she returned. When she questioned me about why I had moved, I explained that I wanted a closer look at the woman's. As soon as the woman heard me, she pulled her hoodie up, tucked her hair back, and pulled it in. My daughter was content with her movie and didn't notice. I felt relieved to take a nap. My spouse believes that instead of saying anything to upset the woman, I should have simply moved seats. I believe she needs to be made aware of her impolite behavior, not the fool. This was a brilliant approach that is not deserving of criticism or humiliation. Instead of attempting to criticize your swift and easy resolution of the problem, advise your wife to try to show her appreciation for it. You can't make cheerful people. Furthermore, that woman is a piece of trash. Screw her. How the roles were reversed. You ought to have also pretended to smell her hair. My nephew, who is 6'2", and has a mild case of autism, was the victim of this a few months ago. It seemed like he got up, gathered the hair, and wrapped it about her face and the seat. With a stutter, she continued. The flight attendant cautioned the hairy passenger to be honest, and he loomed over the seat, saying, "I paid for a hairless seat with a video screen. Keep it away." Fortunately, my sister-in-law was able to defuse the situation. "I salute you. You have done a great job with this, sir. And the best part is that hopefully this will last. She'll avoid putting her hair over the seat in the future and be cautious around strange men. After that woman purposefully and repeatedly made your kid uncomfortable, I wonder why your wife feels that you should take care of making sure that woman doesn't feel uncomfortable. I, a 24-year-old woman, asked my mother if she would walk me down the aisle and lead a mother-daughter dance at my reception after I became engaged. She answered, yes, with great enthusiasm. After we told my stepdad, he expressed his happiness for my mother. When I was 6 years old, he and my mom began dating. 3 years later, he moved in, and the following year, they were married. When Mom first started seeing him, she sat me down and assured me that he would never be my father's replacement, and that I could report him to her if he ever put pressure on me to do something I didn't want to do, like call him Dad. She promised to stop it right away. She made it obvious that our relationship didn't have to conform to anyone else's expectations, and she reaffirmed this to me, both when he moved in and after their marriage. Every step of the way, she also inquired about my feelings. My stepdad and I got along well, so I had no trouble approving of him moving in and getting married. I never referred to him as Dad, or saw him as the traditional father role. He was something else entirely, and I'm not sure I could put it into words. Although we got along well, our relationship was never the same as mine with my mother. Mom would always be my bridesmaid and my partner in the aisle at my wedding, in my dreams. We are a team, and she was there for me and always prioritized me, but she also loved him and never allowed him to be simply a footnote in history that I was unaware of. Her efforts to keep me updated on the good elements of his family, at least, have always been appreciated by me along with that. A strange remark regarding the father of the bride requiring a little additional work put into their wedding suit was sent to me via text a few weeks ago by my stepdad's parents. It was unexpected, and I didn't respond since, to be honest, I had no idea what it was about. When I visited them a few days later, they wanted to know why he hadn't been practicing our father-daughter dance. I informed them that Mom was dancing with me and that there was nothing to practice. I mentioned that my stepdad and I would go dancing at a later time. They stated that the dance belongs to the bride's father, not to the bride's mother. I informed them that he would not play that stereotypical character. They brought it up to me again the following day, and I questioned them about why they kept bringing it up. My stepdad was so unhappy that he went to them because they claimed I should be ashamed and that I embarrassed him. When I talked to my stepdad, he said that he didn't want to offend my mother by coming clean, and that he had gone to his parents in the hopes that I would realize my mistakes. However, he informed me that he should have been the bride's father rather than her stepfather. When I informed my mother what he had done, she was understandably incensed. My mama was the one I fled to like a small girl instead of a lady, and my stepdad was displeased with me, but his parents were much more outraged. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. They're upset that you rushed to Mom. Examine my notes, however, he complained about you to his family right away. You were quite entitled to see your mother. Her issue is with him. It's your wedding. Therefore, he may be depressed. It's his function that you desire. He must mature and stop complaining to his family about how cruel his stepdaughter was to him. If he was interested in a different role, he ought to have discussed it with you directly. Letting your parents do your dirty work looks even worse. He wants to steal something really valuable from your mother, his spouse, but he wants to play the villain for everyone else. I hope your mother notices how deceptive his behavior is. He didn't simply go complain to his parents. To coerce Opie into doing what he wanted, he enlisted their help. Your stepfather and his cronies' small pressure campaign undoubtedly made your mother unhappy, but she kept her word and dealt with it as soon as she found out. Best wishes for a fantastic wedding and a long and happy marriage.